I stood beside her in the late afternoon sunlight, the warmth washing over me like golden silk. It was one of those perfect spring days, gentle laughter drifting through the yard, mingling with soft music and the subtle fragrance of lilacs and jasmine candles. My heart swelled with quiet pride as I glanced around, noticing the familiar faces and the fresh-cut grass beneath our feet. Everything felt just right. Then, in a voice so quiet I almost missed it, she leaned close and murmured, sharply, "Please don't embarrass me tonight." In an instant, the gentle warmth around me vanished, replaced by a sudden chill that crept through my bones. My smile faltered, and I felt the laughter around us dim as though someone had turned down the sun. A tight knot twisted inside my chest, pulling at old insecurities I had hoped were buried long ago. I looked away quickly, pretending to adjust my glasses to hide the hurt flickering across my face. As she stepped away, still smiling gracefully to her guests, I stood frozen, the sweetness of the moment turning bitter, my pride wilting quietly within me. I felt her words sink deep, settling coldly into my chest. It was strange how the late afternoon warmth could suddenly feel so distant, as if winter had slipped silently into spring. Her gaze was brief but intense, making me feel small beneath its quiet judgment. The voices around us faded into a muted hum, disconnected and distant. Nervously, I tugged at my bracelet, rolling the cool beads between my fingers, a habit I'd picked up years ago to steady my anxious heart. I longed for the easy laughter we'd once shared, those carefree moments when her approval wasn't so difficult to earn. Now, standing amid cheerful conversations and gentle breezes rustling the maple leaves, I felt isolated, unseen, and utterly alone. Her words echoed inside me, a sharp reminder that my presence, once comforting, had somehow become a burden. With effort, I forced a smile onto my lips, delicate and brittle, like a porcelain cup teetering on the edge of a table. Guests approached warmly, offering kind words and gentle laughter. I nodded politely, grateful for their friendliness, yet painfully aware of the hollow space inside my chest. Each laugh I offered felt distant and false, echoing softly within me. My eyes caught glimpses of her from across the softly glowing garden. Lights, her laughter light and easy, drifting through the fragrant twilight air. But that laughter felt out of reach now, not meant for me. Instead, it belonged to someone else, somewhere far away from this quiet ache I carried. I blinked quickly, feeling a sudden sting behind my glasses, the warm thread of tears silently gathering. Turning slightly toward the golden lantern's glow, I willed myself to hold steady, to not betray the sadness pooling behind my eyes. The gentle clinking of glasses around me suddenly felt too loud, too bright, each tap sharp and painful, like tiny reminders of her disappointment. Inside, I whispered, small promises, to hold strong, to carry this quietly for her, even if she couldn't see it. I breathed in deeply, filling my lungs with the sweet scent of honeysuckle drifting through the cooling evening air, hoping its softness could somehow ease the hidden ache. My lips pressed together in determination, knowing I'd hold on to this sadness alone, quietly, carefully tucked behind my careful smile. My fingertips moved instinctively to the necklace resting gently at my throat. Its smooth, familiar weight felt heavier now, like an unanswered question lying quietly against my skin. She'd given it to me years ago, her tiny hands reaching up eagerly, her eyes bright with excitement, her laughter filling our cozy kitchen. As I bent down to accept her precious gift. Now, as dusk settled softly around us, the faint glow of string lights flickering gently, that memory felt bittersweet. I traced the necklace slowly, remembering her joy, the closeness we once shared, and wondered how such warmth could slip quietly away, unnoticed until this moment. Around me, muffled laughter drifted on the cool evening breeze, but I felt separate. From it, standing in reflective solitude, my hand still lightly pressed against the pendant, clinging silently to memories that once felt unbreakable. As night began to fall, deepening the shadows beneath the garden's trees, I stood near her, the weight of her earlier words still lingering softly like evening dew. I suddenly realized how deeply her embarrassment had become mine, how I'd quietly accepted blame for something I couldn't clearly name. Breathing slowly, carefully, I steadied my heart against the gentle rustling of leaves and distant chatter. This quiet hurt, subtle but persistent, would stay with me long after the party lights dimmed, a reminder that our bond, once simple and easy, now carried complexities neither of us fully understood. I woke before dawn, the soft hum of my mixer gently calling me to the kitchen. The air already smelled sweet and warm, filled with cinnamon, rising dough, and the comforting promise of bread baking soon. I brushed a strand of hair behind my ear, closing my eyes to breathe in that familiar, quiet joy of early mornings. As the lace curtains glowed softly, letting the gentle golden light filter in, the birds outside began their quiet morning songs. My heart fluttered, calm yet full of anticipation for the day ahead. Then, I felt her tiny hand slip gently into mine, warm, trusting, and so eager to join me in this simple routine. "Good morning, Mama," she whispered, sleepy-eyed but smiling. "Good morning, sweetheart," I whispered back, squeezing her hand gently. In that perfect moment, surrounded by the scent of cinnamon and the peaceful warmth of our kitchen, I believed deep in my heart that nothing could ever change the tenderness we shared. Later that morning, the kitchen was filled with sunlight splashing across the countertops and reflecting off flour dust in tiny sparkling motes. Her laughter rang like tiny bells, echoing joyfully off the sunlit tiles as she chased those playful flour particles drifting gently through the air. "Catch them, Mama," she called, giggling as she danced circles around my legs. My chest swelled. With gentle pride, a warm ache blooming quietly as I watched her play. The kitchen walls seemed to absorb each burst of her laughter, wrapping us in a comforting golden cocoon of sound and light. Outside, I could hear distant cicadas humming softly, mixing their song with the soft scent of vanilla and yeast rising from the oven. "Did you get one?" I asked, smiling softly as I reached out to brush flour from her rosy cheek. "Yes. Look," she said proudly, showing me empty fingers. We laughed together, easy and carefree, our hearts woven tightly by such small, precious moments. As the late morning sun climbed higher, casting brighter beams into our cozy kitchen, I pressed flour between my fingers, feeling its softness yield gently to my touch. Kneading the dough carefully, I felt hope rise inside me, resilient, soft, and full of possibility. With each rhythmic scrape of the wooden spoon, it felt as if I was shaping not just bread, but also the future we would share. She stood quietly at my side, eyes wide with wonder, whispering her tiny secrets about playground adventures and dreams of unicorns. "Mama, will we bake forever?" I smiled gently, touching her cheek softly with floury fingertips. "We'll bake as long as you want, honey." The aroma of rising dough mixed with the faint scent of morning dew on wildflowers, drifting through the window screens. Each fold and stretch felt comforting, like crafting a quiet promise etched lovingly in flour, warmth, and dreams. By noon, sunlight poured directly through the windows, illuminating the countertop in vivid gold. My eyes traced the path of sunbeams, dancing across the counters, brightening her tiny footprints left in flour dust. I smiled softly, feeling a gentle swell of pride inside, remembering how fearless she was, never hesitating to leave her playful mark on everything she touched. The warmth of sunlight and memory mingled quietly within my chest, creating a bittersweet ache. From the oven, I caught the faint aroma of freshly baked rolls, rich and comforting, reminding me again of simpler, sweeter times. Above us, the gentle whir of the ceiling fan kept the sticky warmth of late summer at bay, softly stirring the air. I glanced at her, capturing a mental snapshot, quietly cherishing this fragile, perfect moment when love felt unbreakable, timeless, and beautifully whole. Early afternoon arrived, carrying a gentle warmth lingering softly within the room. With careful hands, I opened the oven door, the comforting glow washing over me. As I slid the loaves carefully from the heat, I heard the soft crust crack gently, almost whispering a quiet vow between us. My hands trembled just slightly, holding on to the fragile warmth as if it could nourish more than our hunger. I thought about the countless mornings I'd carefully packed warm slices into her lunchbox, imagining the smile that would cross her face at school. Those small gestures seemed powerful back then, little assurances tucked neatly between slices, of bread, quietly binding our hearts closer. Now, standing in the afternoon's calm glow, I breathed deeply, savoring the aroma of toasted crust and believing that this moment, too, could nourish the delicate bond we shared. By mid-afternoon, the golden sunlight began to soften gently, bathing our kitchen in a mellow glow. I paused for a moment, fingertips brushing against the floury countertop, suddenly feeling a hush beneath the joyful atmosphere. It was subtle, quiet, yet undeniable, as if these golden days secretly held a warning of colder times to come. A quiet tug of unease settled softly inside my chest, blending with the sticky humidity resting gently against my skin. I felt the gentle thump of the clock marking the passage of time, its steady rhythm a soft reminder of how quickly things could change. With slow, careful breaths, I steadied myself, determined to hold tightly to this warmth, this quiet magic of sunlight and laughter, for as long as I possibly could. Outside, the distant hum of the air conditioning provided faint reassurance, its gentle white noise soothing the quiet whispers of uncertainty within me. I smiled softly, willing myself to believe in the resilience of these moments, determined to preserve each small joy against whatever chill the future might hold. I remember the exact moment her words cut through the gentle chatter, sharp and sudden, like the first frost of winter. We were gathered in the dim living room, bathed in the soft amber glow of a single lamp. Rain tapped softly against the windows, its rhythmic murmur blending with muted voices around me. I'd felt safe there, wrapped comfortably in the quiet, warmth until she spoke. "Could you please just not say anything tonight?" Her tone was calm, controlled, yet it sliced straight through me. My pulse slowed painfully, as if my own blood turned cold in my veins. The warmth drained away instantly, leaving a hollow chill behind. The lamp's gentle glow seemed to dim, shadows deepening around the ochre and gray walls, pooling silently in the corners. I looked away, cheeks burning with quiet embarrassment. I wanted to speak, to explain, but my throat tightened, closing around, words that refused to come. Her rejection settled heavy in my chest, a wound deeper than I imagined possible. Standing frozen, I felt the echoes of her words gathering inside me, darkening like storm clouds heavy with rain. My chest grew tighter with every passing breath, each inhale drawing the damp, cool air lingering near the rain-streaked windows. I pressed a shaking hand to my ribcage, silently willing my fractured heart to hold itself together. In the quiet, "Hush!" The soft creak of the floorboards beneath my feet seemed painfully loud. The old quilt draped over the couch smelled faintly of damp wool and the comforting mustiness of forgotten books, yet no comfort reached me now. I was lost in the suffocating awareness of her quiet disappointment. My mind raced silently, questioning if I could ever feel whole again, or if her words had irreparably torn something vital within me. I moved slowly toward the window, drawn by the quiet, steady rhythm of rain tapping gently against the glass. Each soft drop felt like an echo of shame nodding gently inside my heart, reminding me repeatedly of every time I'd tried and failed to make myself smaller for her comfort. Wrapped only in my thin cardigan, I shivered softly against the autumn. Chill. The gentle tapping of raindrops seemed relentless, like tiny, judgmental whispers, each reminding me of a moment I'd been too loud, too noticeable, too much myself. The muted tick of the old clock blended with distant traffic, creating a hushed soundtrack to my quiet humiliation. I closed my eyes, wishing desperately that the rain could wash away the sting of her quiet rejection. Sinking into the threadbare armchair near the window, I felt nightfall envelop me slowly, soft gloom settling like a gentle weight. Inside, sorrow, pooled quietly, spreading as quickly and silently as spilled tea across a porcelain saucer, impossible to gather back again. My fingertips touched the spot just above my heart, tracing the ache where her words had fractured something invisible, something I couldn't stitch closed. My hand trembled slightly as I reached for the worn armrest, grounding myself against the helplessness swelling in my chest. The muted lamplight struggled feebly against the encroaching darkness, and the faint aroma of chamomile from my half-empty cup seemed distant, offering no comfort. I leaned back, breathing slowly, accepting this fracture as something beyond repair, something I would have to carry quietly inside me from now on. Later that night, in the quiet stillness of my bedroom, I lay awake, eyes open and heart heavy. The rain whispered softly against the roof, each gentle patter echoing my restless thoughts. I felt the weight of every unspoken word pressing heavily inside me, the smiles that masked true feelings, the quiet nods given instead of truth. The shadows pooled quietly across the bedroom floor, illuminated only by faint moonlight. Distantly, the hallway door creaked softly, reminding me of how quiet my home had become. I inhaled the soft scent of lavender from the pillow spray, hoping it might ease the ache within my heart, but it lingered stubbornly. Lying there, I longed, desperately for courage, to speak my truth clearly, bravely, instead of allowing silence and regret to define me. I woke the next morning before dawn, the faint ache still lingering deep inside me, a quiet reminder of that jagged night. Pale light crept gently through the window, mingling with a cool autumn breeze that drifted in softly. The living room lay silent, the lamp embers glowing faintly, casting shadows across the floor. I breathed in slowly, feeling a quiet resolve stir gently within me. I knew I couldn't erase the fracture her words had left, but perhaps I could learn to hold it gently, carrying it alongside wisdom and strength. With each careful breath, I promised myself silently to embrace this wound, understanding that some scars are meant to stay, quietly shaping the person we become. Standing quietly, I moved toward the window, pulling the curtains gently aside, welcoming the cool air and soft rustle of fabric. It felt comforting, like acceptance, like hope whispered softly into the morning quiet. I watched her raise the coffee cup slowly to her lips, holding it carefully, as though it could shatter from the slightest tremble. Her polished smile was gentle but distant, hiding something fragile beneath. Steam curled softly between us, delicate tendrils whispering words I couldn't quite hear. The cafe air was scented lightly with cinnamon, mixed gently with damp wool coats and coffee. Muted chatter filled the background, punctuated occasionally by the clink of spoons stirring gently. My heart tightened quietly, a dull ache settling into my chest as I studied her eyes, noticing the shadows she tried so hard to mask. I longed to say something, anything, to bridge the silence growing steadily between us. Yet the words felt heavy, lodged somewhere deep in my throat. I remembered when our eyes used to speak effortlessly, expressing feelings no words could capture. Now that closeness felt far away, clouded by unspoken burdens. I inhaled slowly, breathing in the cafe's quiet warmth, silently hoping we could find that connection again. As she scanned the menu carefully, I noticed the subtle tremble in her hand, fingers nervously tracing the edge of the paper. I recognized that quiet gesture immediately. The worry of unpaid bills, the stress that tightens your chest with each passing day. My throat tightened painfully, longing to name those fears aloud, to reassure her she wasn't alone. The heater hummed gently in the background, its steady rhythm mirroring the anxious heartbeat inside me. Warm breath fogged the cafe windows, shielding us momentarily from the harsh winter outside, yet I felt no ease. My mind flashed briefly to nights, long past, poring quietly over bills beneath a dim lamplight, anxiety heavy in the air as we whispered, "We'll get through this." But today, those hopeful whispers seemed distant, replaced by silent fears neither of us dared voice aloud. I pressed my lips together, quietly wishing I could ease her burden, feeling how heavy hope could truly be. In that gentle, quiet pause, I softly placed a second sugar packet beside her cup, a tiny gesture, yet one meant clearly to say, "I see you." My heart fluttered nervously inside my chest, uncertain whether she'd accept the quiet care or pull away even further. The cafe's gentle clatter of spoons and hushed conversations seemed to grow softer around us, as if sensing the significance of this small moment. I studied her expression quietly, trying to gauge the response hidden behind her careful eyes. My compassion tangled gently with doubt inside me, uncertainty making my fingers tremble slightly. Vanilla mixed softly with steamed milk in the air, and the soft scrape of chair legs against scuffed wooden floors echoed faintly nearby. I longed to speak openly, to comfort her clearly with words, but still, I hesitated, wondering if the silence would finally soften or simply grow heavier around us. Her gaze drifted gently toward the frosted cafe window as I reached out quietly, and I felt the careful pull of distance growing between us. My heart tightened softly, a subtle ache blending with regret, realizing how wide the gap had silently become. Reaching forward, I lightly brushed a crumb from her napkin, fingers lingering just a heartbeat too long, silently wishing a simple touch could heal all that lay quietly broken between us. But I felt her subtle shift away, retreating inwardly again, eyes distant and clouded by worry. The hush of silence pressed heavier than any harsh argument we'd ever shared. Around us, soft echoes of cups settling gently onto saucers mingled quietly with the faint scent of toasted pastries drifting softly through the dimming cafe. I withdrew my hand slowly, folding it quietly back into my lap, the chill from outside seeping deeper inside me. I leaned forward slightly, tuning my ears carefully to the quiet rhythm of her breathing, steady yet somehow anxious beneath the calm. My own pulse quickened gently inside my chest, softly urging me to understand what she kept tucked carefully away behind those polite smiles. Nearby, the quiet tick of a clock marked each silent moment slipping between us, reminding me of all. The words left unspoken. The cafe settled into a gentle hush, jazz music playing softly on the radio, blending quietly with the rich scent of cocoa lingering faintly in the air. I remembered vividly when our hearts beat easily in harmony, a closeness so comforting it needed no words. Now, I strained quietly, hoping desperately to catch the subtle clues hidden in her unspoken fears, silently promising myself I'd listen more deeply, more carefully, if only she'd let me back in. Closing my eyes for just a quiet breath, I felt a gentle resolve settle softly inside my chest. I knew I must find a way across the silence stretching between us. I pictured clearly our hands joined gently together again, warm and reassuring. In this quiet moment, beneath the soft glow of cafe lights beginning to twinkle warmly in the early evening darkness, hope quietly bloomed within me, steady and careful. When I opened my eyes, lamplight reflected gently off the polished table. Surfaces and muted laughter from another corner drifted softly over. A subtle scent of evergreen wreath touched the air from just beyond the cafe door, a quiet reminder that warmth and closeness were possible again. Drawing in a steady breath, I promised myself to speak gently but honestly, to offer not just my hands, but my open heart, and to finally begin mending the quiet hurt that had settled so heavily between us. I remember standing in the gentle morning light of the post office lobby, the air fresh with promise, carrying the faint scent of paper and ink. My fingertips brushed lightly across the polished wood bench, feeling its cool, steady surface beneath my palms. Around me, the quiet hum of voices and footsteps filled the space, comfortably familiar yet distant in that moment. Then I noticed her trembling hands, quickly trying to conceal a past-due notice tucked beneath the stack of mail. My heart tightened. Immediately, sensing the unspoken weight behind her polite smile, her eyes flicked nervously toward mine, briefly meeting before darting away, her shame evident yet wordless. In that soft hush, the gentle daylight seemed to pause, offering a quiet, almost reverent space around her hidden burden and my silent concern. I felt an ache deep inside, mingling painfully with the sorrow of seeing her pride quietly crumble beneath her fear. I realized how easily burdens could slip unseen behind carefully composed faces, even between two hearts that once knew each other deeply. Later that morning, as mid-morning sunlight softened overhead, I watched her closely at the teller's counter. She stood quietly, gaze fixed downward, cheeks flushed pink with worry. The steady click of the teller's stamp echoed sharply in my ears, magnifying the silence that stretched painfully between us. I recalled vividly a time when she'd confided every dream to me, eyes bright with youthful trust and openness. But now, fear had made her shrink quietly inward, her pride forced to bow beneath worries she refused to share aloud. I took a slow breath, vowing silently that I would hold her boldly, even if she tried to hide. The soft scent of ink and fresh envelopes drifted around us, and padded carpet-muffled footsteps nearby as doors opened with a faint echo, underscoring the quiet urgency that filled the air. Gathering my courage, I gently stepped forward, the careful scrape of my shoes on tile matching the rhythm of my hopeful heartbeat. Immediately, I felt her stiffen beside me, her breath catching slightly. I understood clearly how much she longed to speak openly, yet how tightly pride held her voice captive. The scent of postage stamps and polished counters wrapped gently around us, a subtle invitation toward trust. Warmth radiated quietly from the radiator, mixing softly with cool air drifting in from an open window. The soft murmur of other patrons hummed comfortingly nearby, and cedar-scented ink pads lent a faint, earthy sweetness to the atmosphere. In that small, shared space, I deeply recognized the chasm her hidden burden had quietly carved between our hearts, and I knew, clearly, I must bridge it now. Without speaking, I placed my check carefully beside hers, feeling its weight quietly, both in paper and intention. Her breath hitched softly in response, a gentle spark of relief quickly overshadowed by lingering shame. Yet, beneath it all, a quiet recognition sparked softly in her eyes. The faint rustle of paper as I signed my name felt strangely intimate, binding us closely once more through a silent act of support. In that quiet moment, I knew clearly that love spoke louder than any apology possibly could. Official forms carried a subtle, crisp scent, mixing gently with the aroma of warm coffee drifting in from a nearby cafe. The soft click of clasped folders echoed faintly around us, as midday sunlight brightened the lobby warmly, illuminating the quiet strength of our shared history. As early afternoon light mellowed gently to gold, I watched closely as her eyes, filled quietly with unshed tears, fragile and glistening softly in the gentle sunlight. In that delicate moment, I felt the tender threads of our bond pulse alive once again, steady and soft, reminding me vividly of late-night talks and whispered secrets shared beneath quiet moonlight. Each breath we took together now, standing quietly in that peaceful lobby, felt like a silent promise, a gentle pledge that we would rebuild the warmth she feared lost forever. Even in the presence of lingering shame, hope flickered clearly in her eyes, brighter and stronger with each quiet second. Nearby, the gentle hum of conversation mingled softly with the faint fragrance of blooming hyacinths drifting delicately through a cracked window as overhead lamps radiated gentle warmth, mirroring our renewed closeness. In the late morning hours, drifting quietly toward noon, gentle warmth filled the lobby, and I felt a soft hope unfurl slowly in my chest, bright and tender like new blossoms bravely pushing through frost. Covering her bill had felt like planting tiny seeds of trust, something delicate yet powerful that we would tend carefully together, nurturing quietly through shared understanding. I sensed clearly her spine uncoiling slowly, shoulders easing, gently as she dared to trust our shared strength once again. Quiet rustling of papers blended softly with the distant murmur of postal workers beyond the counter. Subtle fragrances of fresh ink and newly blooming flowers lingered gently, drifting softly through the open door, and standing there quietly together, I knew deeply, without doubt, that in that small, simple gesture, we had quietly discovered our path back to one another again. I walked slowly along the empty path, feeling each dried leaf crunch beneath my boots, echoing softly against the quiet ache in my chest. The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky, casting pale golden light across bare branches, stark against the gentle winter sky. The chill of late winter brushed my cheeks, its crispness carrying away small fragments of unspoken regret with every breath I released into the stillness. Around me, leafless trees stood silently, their stark silhouettes peaceful yet somber, framing the quiet suburban park path. In the distance, I heard the lonely, distant call of a single crow, piercing the silence briefly before fading away. I inhaled deeply, letting the cool air fill my lungs, exhaling softly as sorrow loosened its grip within me. My solitary steps carried me forward, the gentle rustle of brittle leaves beneath my feet, comforting and familiar. Each breath brought calm, and in that quiet solitude, I felt my heart gently opening, allowing small seeds of peace to quietly take root once again. Pausing beneath the skeletal branches of a large oak, I lifted my gaze, watching pale rays of mid-afternoon sunlight sift gently through the bare limbs above. The gentle beams fell across my shoulders, warming them softly, like whispered promises of brighter days ahead. Beneath my feet, occasional patches of slush softened quietly, and the scent of damp earth rose gently around me, blending with the soft whisper of a cool breeze drifting lightly through the branches. My chest lifted slightly, a quiet, cautious hope stirring deep inside, easing the ache that had settled there. Standing in that peaceful golden hush, I let myself believe, for just this quiet moment, that perhaps new beginnings could find their way through grief's quiet shadows, touching me softly with the gentle warmth of healing sunlight. Later, I found myself drawn toward an empty wooden bench along the path, its surface cold beneath my thick coat. Sitting down slowly, I felt its chill seep gently upward, quiet but steady, mirroring the distant hollow quietness that surrounded me. My heartbeat sounded loudly in my ears, tracing each painful ache left behind by our fractured bond. In that quiet stillness, I allowed myself to trace gently the edges of my grief, understanding softly where sorrow lay heaviest within my heart. Each careful breath I took felt cautious, a gentle, small step closer toward acceptance. Around me, faint echoes of distant footsteps blended softly with the distant drip of melting ice, and the air carried the gentle, comforting scent of pine, needles, damp and earthy, reminding me of quiet resilience. As early evening light began to soften gently around me, I wandered toward a small clearing, sheltered by thick trunks forming a protective circle. pulling my shawl tighter around my shoulders. I felt a quiet resolve blooming gently inside my chest, its strength rooted deep within the earth beneath my feet. Carefully, I pressed my palm against the mossy bark of a sturdy tree, closing my eyes softly as though quietly drawing strength from its silent wisdom. The soft scent of moss and wet wood rose gently around me, blending peacefully with the muted hush of the countryside. Distantly, sparrows began returning quietly home, their faint twittering soothingly familiar. Within this peaceful embrace, my heart steadied softly, feeling stronger, calmer, ready to continue walking gently forward, trusting in the quiet strength I'd discovered within this small woodland sanctuary. As dusk slowly approached, casting a gentle, diffuse coolness over the open field beyond the tree line, I stood quietly, feeling the wind sweep softly across the tall grasses. Gentle snowflakes, scattered lightly, touched my lashes, melting gently into small droplets. Closing my eyes softly, I let the gentle insistence of the breeze remind me quietly that change was constant, even amidst stillness. A quiet thrill stirred. Gently inside my heart, nature's soft whispers encouraging me forward, brushing softly away my lingering doubts. Each quiet gust of wind carried with it quiet reassurance, whispering clearly that healing was possible. I opened my eyes gently, watching pale blue hues fade across the horizon, and felt deeply reassured, knowing softly that even the coldest winters eventually gave way to warmth, renewal, and hope. Standing quietly as early twilight painted the sky softly in shades of rose, I felt a gentle strength quietly unfurl inside my chest. It was soft yet steady, much like new green shoots bravely pushing upward beneath lingering snow. Breathing deeply, I stood taller, honoring the quiet journey I had traveled, the quiet distance I'd come. Around me, the park gently slipped into shadow, its outline peaceful beneath the dimming sky. Evening birds chirped faintly, their quiet. Songs comforting as I inhaled softly, breathing in the crisp scent of cold moss mingling gently with distant wood smoke. In this quiet, sacred space, healing felt truly possible. The hush around me no longer empty, but gently filled with quiet hope and soft resilience. I felt my breath catch gently when our eyes met quietly over the low bookshelf, the lamplight casting soft pools of golden glow between us. A subtle spark of recognition danced warmly in her eyes, and I felt my heart flutter softly, delicate like new petals unfurling in early spring. In that quiet instant, the months of careful distance we'd carried between us softened quietly, the gentle spring breeze whispering through her open window, rustling pages on the nearby table. The soft hum of traffic murmured faintly in the background, a comforting reminder of the world outside, yet it felt far away. Warm wooden floors stretched quietly beneath my feet, familiar and reassuring. My chest swelled gently, remembering how once our silences spoke clearly, needing no words at all. Standing there in her cozy apartment, I quietly hoped that perhaps our quiet glances could speak once more, gently bridging the careful space that had formed silently between us over time. That evening, my phone screen lit softly, contrasting gently against the warm, golden lamplight filling the quiet room. I read her message carefully, heart tightening softly as the simple words appeared. Thinking of you today. Each word felt tentative, soft yet powerful, carrying the quiet weight of months filled with silence. I read the gentle message again, and again, warmth blooming softly in my chest, relief mingling quietly with a fragile, hopeful joy. The soft click of my keyboard blended gently with the distant murmur of urban life beyond her window, mild spring air drifting quietly through the crack, carrying softly the calming scent of lavender sachet resting on her desk. With each gentle rereading, I felt the careful distance between our hearts shorten, bridged softly by digital tenderness. Within those simple, quiet words, a whisper of the closeness we once shared, stirred quietly, giving me gentle hope that our bond could softly mend again. Later, as early night settled quietly around me, the phone rang softly, her voice coming gently through the line. It trembled softly, like delicate new leaves fluttering gently in a spring breeze, hesitant, yet beautifully alive. My fingers curled carefully around the handset, steadying myself quietly with gentle determination. Her soft, stumbling words warmed quiet corners within my heart, reassuring me with their tender uncertainty. "I wasn't sure if you'd answer," she admitted softly, a faint smile audible through her careful tone. "I'm always here," I whispered back gently, remembering how comforting her laughter had always been. My heart quickened quietly, daring softly to hope her laughter could comfort me once again. Sitting in the quiet apartment corner, the soft ticking of a nearby clock marking the gentle seconds passing, the delicate scent of chamomile tea rested soothingly between us. Nightfall softly enveloped the room, casting gentle shadows illuminated by the quiet glow from a single lamp. As I spoke gently, sharing a cherished memory from her childhood, I saw a genuine smile bloom quietly across her lips, gentle lines around her eyes softening tenderly. In that simple, warm expression, something quietly thawed inside my chest, my heart swelling gently with joy and fragile relief. In the warm glow of the hearth, embers softly crackled, filling the room with gentle warmth, blending softly with the comforting scent of a worn wool blanket draped gently nearby. Each shared memory felt like a soft thread weaving quietly between us, gently reconnecting the distance our silence had created. In her tender smile, I clearly saw the delicate promise of renewal, hope gently rising between us once again. Later, that evening, we sat quietly together by the flickering hearth, firelight dancing gently across her thoughtful face, illuminating quiet conversations spoken softly. I felt warmth gently bloom upon my cheeks, mirrored carefully by the soft, hopeful ache within my chest. Each glowing ember seemed to reflect the quiet, budding trust growing gently between us. In the comforting light of the fire, its warmth softly reflected against painted walls, the subtle scent of pine logs and vanilla sachets filling the quiet air. I quietly believed that our bond, once delicate and fragile, could softly be rewoven stronger and closer than ever before. Each gentle word exchanged by the warm, flickering hearthlight felt clearly like a quiet promise, carrying softly the assurance of our careful reconnection. As night deepened quietly around us, we sipped warm tea in comfortable silence, a gentle peace settling softly between us, delicate like flower petals quietly unfolding at dawn. My heart felt both fragile and courageous, prepared gently to nurture the soft, new beginning carefully taking root. I remembered clearly how growth often arrives gently, carefully, and slowly, like quiet whispers of reassurance exchanged without words. The soft clink of teacups mingled gently with the mild spring air drifting quietly through the open window, the sweet scent of honey and mint quietly soothing us both. Distantly, city lights twinkled softly beyond the glass, gently illuminating our quiet second chance. Within these peaceful moments, carefully and quietly, I clearly saw the tender promise of renewal blossoming gently, reassuring me softly that healing had finally found its careful way back to us. I remember clearly the moment the last fork clinked quietly against porcelain, breaking the uneasy silence that had settled over the dinner table. Immediately, an icy hush descended upon us, the dim glow from the single overhead bulb casting long, uncomfortable shadows across our faces. I felt my heartbeat echoing softly in the quiet room, each beat heavy and slow beneath the strained expressions around me. Everyone's eyes quickly darted away, avoiding contact, as if afraid our shared glances might further fracture the fragile calm we had tried carefully to maintain. A gentle chill drifted softly through the window, carrying late autumn's crispness inside, blending quietly with the distant hum of the refrigerator and the faint clatter of cutlery, abandoned carelessly on plates. My pulse quickened softly, as I sensed the careful balance we'd built quietly beginning to crack. Beneath our feet, the soft carpet muffled nervous shuffling, amplifying the uncomfortable quiet between us. I breathed quietly, uncertain how to navigate the sudden tension, silently hoping the quiet would not turn brittle and shatter further. Her voice broke abruptly into the careful silence, sharp and unexpected, slicing clearly through our fragile peace like a sudden gust of autumn wind. I felt the warmth drain slowly from my cheeks, replaced quickly by a hollow, quiet ache inside my chest. The flickering candlelight reflected softly across the muted brown and gold tones of the dining room walls, creating gentle shadows that trembled alongside my quiet breath. The faint scent of spiced cider lingered quietly in the air, mocking gently the hope I'd silently nurtured. Outside, the distant rustle of dried leaves mixed softly with the faint crackle from the dying fireplace, adding to the quiet weight her careless words carried. Inside, my heart ached softly, wondering silently how a single phrase could hold so much hidden pain, reopening old wounds we had quietly tried to heal. When the front door clicked gently ajar, I felt it reverberate softly through my chest, echoing, quietly, like a hollow bell. I watched her carefully from my seat, seeing her tense silhouette pause briefly within the narrow beam of the hallway lamp. She stood quietly, posture rigid with the weight of unspoken grief she carried. The soft creak of the door's hinge seemed louder than any argument, resonating clearly in the quiet corridor where damp chill seeped gently inward. The polished wood floorboards gleamed softly beneath her hesitant steps, muffled conversation drifting quietly from the kitchen behind me. A faint draft carried the subtle scent of a wet coat, a quiet reminder of the outside chill lingering nearby. In that careful, silent pause, I felt the full weight of all we had left unspoken hanging heavily between us, a quiet reminder of hidden pain, yet to be gently faced and mended. Sitting quietly at the table, I felt a thick fog of old hurts settle gently around us, filled softly, with every past slight we'd left unaddressed. My breaths escaped quietly, sighing gently as if even the air itself carried quiet regret. The muted wallpaper blurred gently before me, the empty chair opposite suddenly seeming deeply poignant in this quiet hush. Rain thumped softly against the roof, its quiet rhythm echoing the low hum of the heating vent, comforting yet melancholic. Windows glazed softly with condensation, sealing in our quiet tension, the scent of cider cooling gently nearby. I ached quietly, yearning deeply to sweep away this quiet, heavy fog between us, yet felt uncertain where to begin. Each silent breath carried carefully, knowing healing must come slowly, gently, from careful courage yet to be found. As her eyes flicked gently toward mine, I felt a soft tremor within my chest, a quiet echo of old arguments quietly replaying. Within my ribcage, I remembered vividly the sting of her childhood tears, the quiet whisper of hope I'd once cradled softly, promising gently that we could always mend our hurts. The wooden chair squeaked faintly beneath my trembling fingers, the faint scraping of metal chair legs mixing quietly with the distant, steady ticking of the clock, marking each careful, tense second passing. The scent of cooled gravy mingled softly with pepper, the chill of late autumn seeping quietly through the door frames. In this quiet moment, I realized clearly that these tender memories still breathed quietly between us, alive yet unresolved, gently urging us toward quiet understanding and careful healing. Late that night, beneath the gently flickering bulb overhead, I felt our fragile progress tremble softly beneath me, like thin ice feeling the first cautious weight. My heart tensed gently inside my chest, filled softly with quiet fear, yet also careful resolve, knowing deeply we could not fall backward into silence again. Each labored breath carried a quiet promise within, whispering gently, "We can't. Fall back." The soft scrape of chairs shifting slightly beneath careful movements blended gently with the faint whistle of wind whispering softly through the eaves, a quiet reminder of the cold outside pressing inward gently. Inside, I summoned quiet courage, knowing clearly that speaking gentle truths could mend what lay broken between us. Listening carefully to the muted echo of conversation drifting quietly from another room, I felt hopeful strength rise softly, determined quietly to step forward toward healing and gentle reconciliation. My heart hushed softly as she drew in, a trembling breath preparing herself to speak. Her voice emerged gently, quivering like candlelight caught in a draught, each careful word heavy with expectations she'd quietly carried alone. Sitting in our cozy living room, bathed in the gentle flicker of firelight, the chill of winter quietly seeping from the edges of closed windows, I remembered clearly the immense courage it took to lower the walls built by shame. I pulled the soft blankets a little closer, breathing quietly, allowing space for her words to unfold gently in the quiet between us. The scent of pine mixed softly with warm tea lingering gently nearby, comforting yet quietly tense. In that still moment, as the fire crackled gently, I listened carefully with my whole heart, deeply aware of the careful bravery in every softly spoken syllable. I felt clearly how precious this moment was, a quiet opening, fragile yet strong, softly inviting healing and understanding into the gentle silence we shared. As night settled quietly, the embers in the fireplace glowed softly, their warm light blending gently with pale moonlight drifting quietly in through the windows. She spoke softly, slowly unraveling the hidden burdens she had carefully tucked away, the bills she quietly hid, sleepless nights haunted by worries of failing. Each quiet confession filled me with a gentle, tender ache, imagining her alone. In those quiet, anxious moments, burdened silently. Outside, the winter wind whispered softly against the window panes, gently echoing the deep-seated worries she quietly expressed. I reached over gently, my hands resting softly upon hers, quietly offering silent reassurance. The faint aroma of chamomile lingered gently in the air, blending softly with the distant hush of the quiet winter night. Together, in that gentle, comforting silence, I quietly promised her she wouldn't carry these burdens alone anymore. I watched carefully as gentle tears traced delicate paths down her cheeks, reflecting softly in the flickering firelight. She quietly named each fear, her voice trembling gently. Fear of letting me down, fear of losing control. As she spoke, my heart swelled softly, filled with gentle compassion and quiet regret for every silent cry I'd previously missed, each careful moment I'd unknowingly overlooked. Warmth from the fireplace bathed us softly, illuminating her brave vulnerability clearly. Heavy drapes pulled carefully closed, wrapping us gently in privacy as soft blankets rustled quietly around us. In the fire's gentle glow, I saw clearly the strength within her quiet confession. Her openness softly reminded me of the power of honesty, that bravery often speaks most clearly when shared gently, in quiet moments of truth. In the gentle lamplight softly illuminating the room's edges, I felt warmth flood my chest quietly as I nodded gently, absorbing each careful word. My mind cleared softly of old judgments, replaced by gentle understanding. Each careful inhale brought her quiet honesty closer, each slow exhale gently releasing my quiet regrets. The faint, comforting ticking of the mantel clock marked each peaceful moment, quietly passing between us, offering gentle reassurance in its steady rhythm. Winter frost touched softly against the window pane, creating delicate patterns on the glass, while the warm scent of honey sweetening our tea lingered gently in the quiet air. I remembered clearly that love often dwelled gently, quietly, in the careful space between two beating hearts, where silent understanding softly grew stronger with each shared breath, each quiet nod, each gentle exchange of honesty and trust. As the evening deepened quietly, firelight filled the room with a steady, comforting glow. I reached gently across the space between us, brushing a careful finger softly against her cheek, gently wiping away lingering tears. My voice emerged steady, filled softly with careful understanding and quiet forgiveness. Inside my chest, I felt the soft, fragile stirrings of healing quietly taking root, delicate yet real, much like spring shoots gently pushing upward through snow. The warmth of the hearth softly embraced us, a comforting cradle of gentle reassurance. Vanilla's faint aroma from a nearby candle blended gently into the quiet atmosphere, as soft blankets wrapped closely around our shoulders, offering warmth and quiet security. In this gentle exchange of kindness, old fractures quietly began to mend, carefully, slowly, strengthened gently by honest compassion and soft understanding, binding our hearts softly together once again. As her careful confession faded quietly into the gentle hush, I felt soft hope rekindling gently between us, burning brighter, stronger than the fears that once separated our hearts. Quietly, our breathing synchronized softly in the gentle firelight, two hearts carefully relearning how to beat gently, closely together again. Outside, the world lay quietly hushed beneath winter's peaceful blanket, while inside, new warmth softly filled our careful silence. The soft weight of blankets rested gently around our shoulders, the scent of cedar logs lingering quietly in the warm air, mingling softly with the quiet crackle of the fire. In this gentle, sacred stillness, my heart quietly believed again clearly in second chances. Hope rekindled gently within our quiet bonds, steady and careful, softly teaching us that healing could bloom beautifully again, nurtured carefully by gentle courage, quiet honesty, and patient love. I stand quietly in the early morning garden, feeling the gentle warmth of sunrise touch my skin softly. Dew-kissed grass edges the garden paths, shimmering faintly as sunlight filters gently through the rose leaves, casting dappled patterns on the damp earth. The soft scent of blooming flowers drifts gently in the fresh, cool air, wrapping me quietly in its comfort. As the first rays of sun softly reach me, I feel the quiet ache inside my chest begin to ease gently, old wounds carefully softening, becoming less heavy. Each tender scar, touched by this gentle light, feels more like a quiet testament to how far we've come, rather than a painful reminder. Standing quietly among the roses, I recall the whispered prayers I offered gently during those darker nights, when hope seemed distant and faint. Now, breathing in softly, inhaling hope's gentle first light, I feel quietly assured that morning always follows even the longest night, bringing softly with it fresh chances to heal, to grow, and to love gently again. By mid-morning, sunlight gently warms my shoulders as I kneel carefully beside the velvet soft petals of blooming roses. Their deep colors fill the garden richly, alive and vibrant beneath the soft hum of bees. My fingers brush softly against a fragile rosebud, tender and new, a delicate promise of beginnings gently unfolding between us once more. I pause quietly, feeling a soft thrill rise gently in my chest, comforted by the simple knowledge that beauty can quietly grow from pain's soft soil. The scent of roses and fresh mulch blend gently in the air around me, reassuring and familiar. Each gentle breath I take reminds me clearly that even what was broken can quietly bloom beautifully again, nourished gently by patience and careful love. Later in the bright, clear warmth of late morning, we walk gently together along winding stone paths bordered softly by fragrant lavender. Our steps fall quietly in sync, comfortable as old friends gently reunited, and I feel my heart swell softly with quiet certainty. Each careful step forward feels clearly like an unspoken vow gently renewed, an understanding shared quietly through soft rustles of leaves and the distant gentle chime of garden wind bells. The warm breeze whispers softly around us, blending gently with the comforting quiet of the garden paths. As we walk quietly, I believe deeply in the gentle truth we've discovered together. Trust can always be rebuilt, carefully and slowly, one gentle step at a time. Around midday, a gentle breeze softly stirs the garden leaves, lifting faint petals gently into the air. I watch quietly as they drift softly across our path, like shy smiles carefully offered. Closing my eyes gently, I inhale deeply, breathing in the sweet, hopeful air, feeling renewal brush softly against my skin. In this quiet whisper of wind, gentle and reassuring, I sense clearly that our story is turning softly toward fresh beginnings, toward gentle renewal. Floral fragrance blends softly with the warmth of early summer sun, mingling gently with the quiet, comforting chirp of sparrows nearby. Standing quietly together, surrounded gently by this peaceful, hopeful beauty, I know clearly we've found a quiet path toward healing, softly guided by nature's gentle reminders. As early afternoon sunlight warms our skin softly, petals gently drift around us, falling quietly from above, carpeting the ground softly beneath our feet. My heart flutters, gently, buoyed quietly by forgiveness, feeling free and light as a bird gently released from its cage. Carefully, I reach out, catching one delicate petal gently, holding it carefully between my fingers. This petal feels quietly like a fragile promise, gentle yet significant, a quiet reminder of the grace we offer each other in these careful, tender moments. Around us, garden bees hum softly in the distance, adding quietly to the peaceful brightness filtering gently through the leafy canopy. In these quiet, shared moments, forgiveness softly lifts my heart, reassuring me gently that love can always heal, always forgive, always renew itself beautifully. In the golden warmth of late afternoon, I gently wrap my fingers around a young, sturdy stem, marveling quietly at its clear resilience and quiet strength. Inside my chest, a steady, clear hope softly grows, reassuring me gently that our love, like this tender shoot, will strengthen quietly with each careful, gentle touch. Around us, lush greenery glows softly in the gentle warmth of the golden sunlight. The faint, sweet scent of new leaves drifts gently on the air, blending softly with distant laughter of children playing quietly beyond the garden gate. In this quiet moment, as gentle afternoon light fills the garden softly, I dare clearly to believe that our careful journey forward will remain gently bright, quietly full of life and softly blooming promise.